you have made these revelations, has it damaged some of your personal friendships that you had in the White House?
Well, you find out who your true friends are during a time like this, so that's the way I would describe it. But yes.
And people who you got to know pretty well now may not be talking to you. Is that right?
That's correct. There are also a number that are still good friends, and they understand me and they understand where I'm coming from. They know who I am.
But also, too, I mean, I know that you're probably going to make some money off your book, but the truth is you're a pretty capable guy and could have done pretty well and will, I guess, do well in your professional capacity aside from a book, right?
Well, yeah, there's certainly other opportunities I could have pursued separate from this book.
And they'd be pretty lucrative.
And I think that, yes, yes, sir.
And so this is not about money. This is not about grudges. You're just trying to help your country. Is that right?
Trying to make a difference.
And I think what you're doing is courageous, and I just want to let you know that I hope you continue to be open and have candor. What are the lessons here? I mean, the fact is, you worked in that White House. I imagine there was a tremendous, when things begin to occur to you that really were not right, you must have just felt, man, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to shut up and do my job. Is that right?
Well, I think there's maybe a little bit of that, but those last 10 months certainly became a disillusioning period.
Right.
When I learned from the media, or just as the media was about to report it, that I had been knowingly misled by Karl Rove and Scooter Libby. Then when the NIE revelation came out, but even things in between that, from the terrorist surveillance program or the warrantless wiretapping program to the vice president's hunting accident, you can go down a list of other events.
We certainly could. I want to touch on a few of those, but I just want to say that I want to ask you about what you think the lessons are. How do we keep our government transparent, open? How do we stop this sort of culture of secrecy, silence, and obfuscation? That, in your opinion, what do we do to make sure that doesn't happen in the next administration?
Well, I mean, certainly you're exercising your oversight role and trying to get to some of these answers.
So is part of the solution that we got to have an active Congress that does its part?
Oversight is very important, and the other aspect of this is a White House that is committed to embracing openness and government in the sunshine, and willing to be candid with the American people.
How do you think that we got into this frame of mind in the White House where they sort of like circle the wagons, and you use the term permanent campaign, but was there tolerance for alternative and dissident points of view, for example, on the war?
Well, once the policy was set, there was not tolerance for different views. Before the policy was set, the president would welcome differing views, but I think this Iraq policy, as I state, was set early on.
Like Dan Levy, for example. You know him?
No, I don't.
You don't know Daniel Levy?
I'm sorry?
Maybe I got the name wrong. Huh? Daniel Levin, sorry, Levin. Do you know him? He was an acting assistant attorney general for a while.
Okay.
He rewrote the memo that was originally written by Addington and you.
No, I would have dealt with the counsel's office on that, or maybe Addington.
Okay. Did you deal with Addington?
I dealt with the counsel's office primarily on that when Al Gonzalez was still the White House counsel, and David Leach, I believe, was still there at that time. We did some press briefings on those issues. Now,
let me tell you, Addington and you came up with a memo that sort of gave license to these enhanced interrogation techniques that have gotten a lot of press. Were you privy to any conversations that took place before the actual drafting of those memos? You understand what I'm asking you?
In terms of the detainee policy?
Yes.
No, I was not involved in those meetings where that was discussed. Now, I certainly had to go out and defend the administration on some of those policies, and so information was shared with me in terms of counsel's office or whoever else it might have been.
How do they how do they equip you to go out there and face the press, given those policies that they were?
Well, part of it was also getting them out there to talk about it, and we did a detailed briefing. I don't remember what year it was, maybe August of 2004, 2003. We did a pretty detailed, or maybe it was later in that, detailed briefing with reporters, with Al Gonzalez, with I think the counsel at the Pentagon, Jim Haynes, and some others as well.
Now, when you got them out there to talk about it, did you, after, for example, they talked about I'm talking about that December 2002 memo, that Addington by BU memo, did you ever sort of wonder about what they were going out to ask you to defend and ask them questions about it?
Well, I trusted their assurances they were giving me on those issues. That was one time when the press secretary is relying on others within the administration to get his information.
But did you, in your own mind, ever think, they're giving me a thing to defend here?
I certainly, looking back on it, I have some reservations about some of the things that were said during that time.
Let's talk about the Abu Ghraib issue. I mean, the fact is that when you were at the White House during that time, and the world knows that people like Lindy England and others were put on trial for those things. Did you ever get the impression that that incident started higher up?
Well, the sentiment within the White House was that this was something that was not higher up, that it was always to put the focus on those individuals that had been responsible for doing this without authority, and that was the attitude within the White House.
Oh, yeah. Was there any dialogue around that you heard that, where people were saying, well, we know we may have sort of given them license to do this, get that intelligence however you can?
I know the president never personally thought that or expressed that to me in conversations. I mean, he certainly felt that it was the responsibility of those individuals going beyond their authority.
What about Donald Rumsfeld?
I'm sorry?
What about Donald Rumsfeld?
I didn't have direct conversations with him on that. So.
What about Jim Haynes?
I did not have direct conversations with Mr.
Did you talk
Haynes
with anybody about during that time?
Well, certainly, yeah, we were talking about it internally, but the information I received was pretty much what I was saying publicly.
Were you ever told? Was there any discussion about we're going to honestly try to get to the bottom of this to prevent it from happening?
I did not hear that. I did not hear that, or a focus that it may have been higher up. I mean, certainly it was investigated and looked into. I can't add anything to that record.
Okay. What about Guantanamo and the detainee policy there? Were you privy to much discussion around that?
Well, not direct discussions in terms of meetings where those policies were set in place. Again, that was part of some of the briefings that we did for the press with Al Gonzalez and the others that I mentioned.
Yeah, no, but I know that before you go out there and look at those cameras, I'm sure you get yourself ready.
Yes. And I talked to individuals with inside the White House who would have knowledge of those issues. Yeah.
And so what you're telling me is that when it comes to addressing, for example, those torture memos, the Addington U torture memo, you never had any conversation before you had to go out and defend that policy?
No, I would have had conversations with people about what the message is here and what we can share with the public.
Right. Did you ever have any discussion about how that might be, about how people were are we there? Okay. Well,
very close.
Last question. Of course, are you familiar with a guy named Maher Arar?
Doesn't ring a bell.
He's a Canadian of Syrian ancestry who was rendered to Syria.
Okay. Now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Did the administration ever talk about what you were to do to defend that policy?
I don't remember if I commented on that publicly or not. I would have to go back and look at that time period to see.
Did they ever talk about rendition at all?
Well, we talked publicly about rendition, yes.
What were you told to say about it?
Without looking back at my notes, it's hard for me to talk about it. Other than what I said publicly is probably what I knew about that issue.
Thanks a lot, Mr. McClellan.
Thank you, Congressman.